3, 2. Good evening and welcome to our parent university for this evening. Tonight we are going to be talking about social emotional learning and a new program that the Rio Rancho Public School District is using called Ripple Effects. We want to remind you that these are live for anyone in the community and parents who are interested in watching them. And I am going to go over the process that we use so we can answer any questions you have at the end of the presentation. We have about an hour scheduled for the presentation and 30 minutes scheduled for questions. If you have a question, please submit your question in the comment section on the YouTube channel. Please refrain from using this section to have discussion or to have general comments. We're really looking just to capture the questions in this area. Also, if there's anything posted there that's inappropriate, we'll remove that as well. We are asking that you keep the questions to the topic being presented tonight. We're only going to ask questions in relation to this presentation. If you have other questions, please feel free to email us at RRPS reentryplans@rrps.net, and we can respond to those questions there. I'd like to introduce you this evening to Ms. Tana Burgos. She is our Executive Director of Student Services, and I am going to give the floor to her, and she is going to take it from here. Tana?
Thank you, Beth. Yes, my name is Tana Burgos. I'm the Executive Director of Student Services for Rio Rancho Public Schools. And this evening we are going to be presenting on social emotional learning. And we have 3 counselors with us this evening that are going to be presenting as well. And that's Jamie David. She's a counselor from Sandia Vista Elementary School. Alicia Fetro, the counselor from Eagle Ridge Middle School. And Lupe Gallegos, a counselor from Cleveland High School. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first slide. And then each of the grade level counselors will take over and be presenting their slide. So I'm going to be just giving some general information about how SEL in our district and how we support that. We do a lot of specific work, and our counselors are going to go over some of that at the specific grade levels for elementary and middle and high school. But these are just some highlights of how we try to support our families and our students before COVID and during this time as well. So we have 42 counselors in our district. We have 13.5, if you can see the numbers there at our elementary school, the numbers that we have at our middle school and our high school. And then we have 1 social worker that actually works with regular ed students at one of our students, because all our other social workers in the district work with special needs students. And we have just started the process for Ripple Effects. It's our new online SEL curriculum. And I will be introducing the presenter that will be following our presentation after this one. She will be presenting to the parents and the community and students. We also have mental health referrals that are able to support families for one visit when there are certain situations that come up. That has been very supportive for some of our families. We have other programs such as Love and Logic, Nurtured Heart Approach, Kelso's Choice, SOS, which stands for Signs of Suicide, Why Try, Second Step, and Zones of Regulation. Next slide, please. Also in our district, we are a PBIS framework, and that's Positive Behavior Intervention Supports. And this, oftentimes people will think that PBIS is a program, but it's really a framework. And those previous programs that I spoke about, as well as the new online SEL Ripple Effects, support a PBIS framework on your campus. It's really how you function as a campus, your staff, your community on your campus, and how you're positive with how you try to work with families and students. We also have an alcohol, drug, and substance abuse counselor this year who's working with our student support center. And then we're also going to be working on future curriculum that will be taught to 10th grade students all through the district, which is youth mental health first aid, and selected staff will be taught this curriculum and then be teaching it in the spring to our 10th graders across the district. We also have an agreement and working with UNM Health Science Behavioral Health Clinic in Rio Rancho where we can submit referrals. And this is a new endeavor that was applied for through a grant. And so we've been working with them on how students can be supported by them as well. And then last but not least, we have agreements with outside mental health agencies around the community where they can work with our families. Originally it was on our campus, but they can still continue to work with our families via online and how that would work, speaking with counselors and how they can get that support. So the next slide is going to be Jamie David, as I introduced, and she is the counselor at Sandia Vista Elementary School, and she'll be presenting on elementary and what they are doing on their campuses.
All right. Hello, good evening. Like Tana said, I'm Jamie David. I thought I would start with the definition of social emotional learning. This is the process through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply knowledge, attitude, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. So these are things that we are already doing as parents and educators. We might not have known there was a term for it, but when we are helping our children at home solve problems with their siblings or on the playground with their peers, we're teaching SEL skills. When we have students take perspective taking when they're doing journal writing, that's also practicing empathy. So it's things that we're already doing. There's a lot of benefits that have been shown in research throughout the years to teaching SEL in schools and at home. Some of those are increase in academic success, a decrease in behavior problems, and then also maybe the most important, a decrease in emotional stress. So when we know how to manage our behavior and our emotions, we're able to handle the day-to-day problems that might arise. And this is true for starting when we're 2 years old all the way through adulthood. So the research shows that the earlier we can teach SEL and continue it, the better. So there's an organization called the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. You'll see that wheel on the screen there. And they've identified 5 competencies for schools to focus on in homes. These are self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. And they also tie it into the classroom as the inner wheel, schools, homes, and communities. So it really is a collaborative relationship between schools and homes to help kiddos get the skills that they need for these competencies. CASEL.org, I put the website at the bottom. Like I said, it's the framework that most curriculum is based on. And I have heard that Ripple Effects is based on CASEL as well. And so I recommend checking it out. There's tools for parents and teachers. I also have on my slide some elementary curriculum examples. So these are different programs that your elementary counselors over the past few years have implemented. And it just varies site to site based on the community's needs or what the counselor feels comfortable with. And they typically would work in collaboration with the teachers to come in and do a 30-minute lesson as often as they could, usually averaged out to be once a month. And so my favorite is Kelso's Choice with the frog, helping kids learn about solving their problems. But those are the top 5 that our elementary counselors have used. So, and they are all based on CASEL as well. So Ripple Effects, which we're going to see tonight, the benefit is that it's going to be district-wide. Students are going to have access through it on their Chromebooks. Teachers and counselors are going to be able to use it. And also just the benefit of K-12 having the common language. And I know some schools already have the time built in to use that for teachers and students to look over. So I'm excited to hear more about the program and reach out to your school counselors throughout the year. If you guys need anything, we're here to support you and your students. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. That was great. Our next presenter is Alicia Fetro. She's the counselor at Eagle Ridge Middle School.
All right. Thank you, Tana, and thank you all of the community members that are here and learning about how we're going to manage this kind of interesting space together. And for me, middle school is all about trying to move from that elementary kind of mindset to one of adulthood. And many middle schoolers try to make that leap by themselves or sometimes in tandem with their families. And sometimes they're successful and sometimes they struggle. And so within the middle school setting, we continue with the Castle initiatives of, as you can see in my slide, of the 5 different categories, but we tend to break them down a little bit more individually, starting in the middle school range. We also utilize curriculum such as Second Step. Second Step has been my best friend for the last few years. Why Try? The Nurtured Heart Approach, Mindful Schools, Signs of Suicide, and bully prevention programs. The list is long. The thing that I'm excited about with Ripple Effects is that our kids, all of Rio Rancho kids, will have the same language, the same goals, the same objectives, and that it will be aligned. So when I have young people coming into my middle school, they will have the base, the true base, because we're all utilizing the same source of talking to our scholars. And we are able to see if they are growing their skills in relationships or growing their self-management skills, because they'll be able to self-identify, what am I doing right now? Maybe I could do something right a little differently the next time I get angry. And things like that. And it's just wonderful to watch this growth and blossoming. And I'm very excited as well to start the implementation journey, because I see lots of possibility here. So thank you all. I hope if you are a community member from Eagle Ridge Middle School that you reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And our next slide is Lupe Gallegos from Cleveland High School.
Hi. So at the high school, which we're very fortunate, the elementary schools, the middle schools building up onto the skills for students. When they reach the high school, likewise, we follow up with students and we provide a lot more one-on-one. At the high school level, we find that students reach out more to help with learning skills, how to deal with different situations. And then at each counselor, our goal is to teach skills or continue teaching the skills to build upon them to help students to problem solve, to help students to learn different techniques, different skills to calm themselves down, as well as to cope with different situations. One of the things that you'll see is that we use a comprehensive counseling program, which we do within the district as well. And likewise, now we're excited to have a curriculum that we'll be able to utilize across the district to build upon. What we do within the high school levels, group counseling. There's some group counseling. Different counselors have used the Why Try program, which is familiar with many students because it was used in the middle school. Signs of suicide, and even the Naviance. One of the things that we use the tool, because we need to utilize everything we have, is that in Naviance there is the strength inventory, and what students have found using this inventory is it identifies strengths and blind spots, and it helps students to explore a little bit more about their personality, a little bit more about their strengths, a little bit more about what are some things that they could tap into to help them to overcome different situations. And it's just a wider knowledge base of just thinking outside of different elements of, oh, okay, so I do tend to get high anxiety whenever I have too much tasks thrown at me. I do better whenever things are broken down for me. So these are just some information that I think we help individuals, our students with, and then individual planning and counseling, because students at this level, which I really love, is that you see a lot more advocate for themselves. And they also refer students, they refer their friends to us so we can help them. And I think that has really created a nice network of collaboration, a network of support for individuals to help each other out and for us to step in and provide that assistance as well. And in working with teachers, what we find as well is that teachers also provide guidance and also direct students to us so we can provide support. And I also want to mention here is that one of the things that we definitely are finding is that we're learning as well how to evolve with students, because we're seeing social media and different things are becoming more and more part of their lives. And with some of the programs that Tana has helped us to implement and help us to resources that we're hoping with this program, which we're excited for y'all to learn more about, is that will also kind of tap into some of the ways that students are, where they are gathering their information. And that are some of the things that we do to help at the high school, but a lot of individual meetings, a lot of collaboration. And we work closely with our substance abuse counselor. We work closely with other agencies in the community, and we really try to bridge that and to help families to access that information if needed, because it's a very complicated and at times it's very stressful to navigate through all of that. So we provide that assistance to help with that. And the other thing that another thing that I want to just also bring up is that at Rancho High School, they do the signs of suicide, and they found they've had good success with that, educating students and what we see. So that way, if signs are recognized and resources, so students, if they feel like they are recognizing some of these signs, they feel more comfortable to reach out to individuals. So there's a lot of things that with the support of the district that we're going to be rolling out across the board that we're really excited to see.
Thank you, Lupe. So the next slide, please. So before I introduce our presenter for Ripple Effects, I just want to let those that are watching know that in past parent universities, there's been information as well as board meetings about the reentry plan, and the board in our reentry plan for Ripple Effects for us to be able to use it with our students pre-K through 12th grade. So we're really super excited about it. It is an online curriculum and it has so many opportunities. And we just started the professional development with our counselors, and now we're reaching out to our behavior specialists, and we'll be reaching out to our social workers and teachers, and really start to use this program online while we are during this time and what is going on with our lives, and hopefully be able to support our students the best we can. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Jessica Berlinski with Ripple Effects, and she is going to be giving a presentation, and I'm super excited about it. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Tana. I welcome everyone, and I was so impressed with the presentations that I've heard thus far, and the dedication of the district to really deeply support students. And so I'm going to go ahead and start off by sharing my screen and some slides here. Bear with me. So here we go. Again, my name is Jessica Berlinski, and I work as the director of K-12 of Ripple Effects. And my background is at the intersection of social and emotional learning and technology. And so really, really looking at how we can leverage technology that kids are so connected to these days to really support their social and emotional learning and development. And so I'm going to jump in with this slide here just to ground us in, what we're all experiencing and what our kids are experiencing. And I'll read start off by reading this quote, which is from a May NPR article: nightmares, trauma, tantrums, regressions, grief, violent outbursts, exaggerated fear of strangers, even suicidal thoughts. In response to a call on social media, parents across the country shared that the mental health of their children appears to be suffering as the weeks of lockdown drag on. So what I found, salient about this is that this is in May. And as we all know, our kids have continued to be isolated from their peers. They're barraged with news that is just death and fear and a lot of confusion as well, from all sides. And I think they also feel the stress that we sometimes carry with what we're going through in this pandemic. I know, I have a son, and surely he can feel some of my elevated stress with everything that I'm juggling additionally during this time. And so and then I also just included here some of the data on, what happened in China with young people, and looking at some studies they did with elevated depression and anxiety from their lockdown, again, back in the spring. And then what we know happens with young people during any times of economic downturn, unemployment, et cetera. So this is certainly a difficult time for our young people. And when I asked Tana, what is your aim with this program? Like, give me the broad strokes. She shared, how do we help our young people work with the intensity and the range of feelings that they're feeling right now, anger, sadness, loneliness, depression. How do they channel these feelings in a positive way? And how do we arm them with resiliency skills, teach them how to ask for help when they need it? And as we saw in previous slides, kind of the key to this is these foundational life skills or resiliency skills. And our counselors did such a nice job of giving us an overview. I'll move quickly here, but one of the things I want to underscore is that these skills are for everybody. They are for everybody, pandemic or no pandemic. We need these to, maintain healthy relationships and learn. And ultimately, they're actually connected to life success, to better jobs, to sustained marriages. So these are really the skills that all of us need. But particularly in this time, we need what we call at Ripple Effects kind of SEL plus. We need SEL with a trauma-informed lens. And this here, if you've heard that word trauma-informed, this is kind of the official definition of what trauma-informed means. But essentially, like if I were to sum this up, it's ensuring that the SEL supports that we give each child are getting at the unique challenges and trauma that each child is facing. So in this, like if we think about this experience of this pandemic, we're all experiencing it collectively, but how it's showing up in our lives is very different. So we may have one student who's just snacking all day long and has gained 10 pounds and feels kind of embarrassed and a little out of control. We have another, young person who is kind of keeping this all in and just ready to burst with anger and maybe fear expressing as anger. We've got kids that are reaching out for vaping and maybe substance use, or maybe making risky decisions when they didn't previously. So kids are just processing this real trauma in many, many different ways. And when we're trauma informed, what we're ensuring that we do is make sure that we are supporting each student in the unique way around the unique feelings and experiences and challenges that they're experiencing. And this is a great image that kind of encapsulates how the Ripple Effects program works, which is, as educators, as parents, we see this, we see kind of the behavior, but oftentimes we don't see what's underneath it. We don't know necessarily what our young people are feeling or or even doing sometimes, or what's happened with them. So we want to give them a safe environment, a safe place to begin to understand some of those things so they can build resiliency skills around the challenges that they're going through. And you may know those challenges, those may be very evident to you as parents, or you may not. A lot of times, as you know, with adolescents, there's fear and there's shame around the different things that they're going through or feeling. And so sometimes they need a bridge to be able to build the language and the agency to connect with others and to ask for help around these things. And that's part of the unique affordance of this program. So Ripple Effects is a digital social and emotional learning behavior and mental health support program. That's a mouthful. Just some key bullets here to describe what this program is. And I'm going to actually show you the program. I'm going to actually share a demo of the kids program and the teens program. But one, it's evidence-based, so it is proven to improve behavior, to improve grades, to improve depression scores, to improve social emotional learning and resiliency assets. It's personalized to the unique challenges each student faces. And in that way, it's trauma-informed. It's culturally responsive, which has never been, perhaps I shouldn't say this, but is particularly salient now in our cultural climate, right? We want to give our young people a voice. We want to help them deal with some of the social injustices they're seeing and experiencing, to ground themselves in their cultural assets. It's really easy to use. And it can be used anywhere at any time. And that's also really important right now in this, this global pandemic. Previously, when we did SEL, we might do an SEL lesson and there would be, let's say around managing feelings, and there'd be a level of abstraction to it. But right now, our kids need supports in real time. They need to be managing or problem solving. Maybe they're seeing on social media that they're starting to be bullied and some of their core group of friends are no longer talking to them. Like, how do they deal with the feelings that are coming up in the moment around that? So this is really an anywhere, anytime support. So I'm going to give you just a brief overview of the different facets. It's kind of a suite of programs. And then we'll jump in and we'll actually experience this. We'll take a look as though we're students moving through it. So Ripple Effects for Kids is the elementary program. It's roughly, we say grades 2 through 5. It has over 200 lessons. And the lessons can be broken down into 3 categories. The first are social and emotional skills, so lessons focusing on building these skills. Then lessons focused on the different behaviors that you're going to see. So, and the behaviors that, all of you are seeing as parents, and I'm seeing as a parent of my young child. But fighting, defiance, name calling, teasing, whatever behavior you might be looking to address or improve. And then we've got this trauma-informed piece, which are lessons focused around those unique challenges. And for each lesson, there are 10 to 12 different ways, or we call modalities, of learning about the content. Because we know kids learn in different ways and kids gravitate to different ways of learning. So we give them that kind of rich breadth and depth of content, as well as this array of ways to learn the content. And I should say, and this is a through line that is so, so important. Again, I mentioned this a moment ago, this concept of a bridge, but I like to think of all technology, all SEL technology, as being a bridge to real world connection. And so you'll see that, and I'll point out to you a lot of opportunities for that. And I'll also try to point out a lot of opportunities for you as parents to get involved, if you wish. So moving forward, the teens program. So this is our program. We call it Ripple Effects for Teens. This is our middle and high school program. And this has 430 lessons. Again, in those kind of segmented or categorized in those different buckets. You can think of them in those 3 different areas. The core culturally responsive social and emotional skills, the behaviors, and then that whole big array of tough things that are the normal things that all kids kind of are grappling with, and then some of the things that are really unique to kids, and maybe that they're privately struggling with. Here in this third topic area here, which can be called topics of a sensitive or personal nature, or again, sometimes we call those personal challenges. And then again, 10 to 12 different ways of learning about each one of, within the lesson, the content in that lesson. And so some of those ways, there's true story videos, there's skill training, there's transfer exercises to the real world, gamified knowledge checks, and we'll actually see what these things look like in a moment. And then we have an early learning offering. So for our pre-K 1, we have an interactive app, 2 digital books, 6 videos, a lesson-by-lesson guide for educators and parents, a digital coloring book. So this has, we have a lot of, it's kind of a multimedia, tool offering, but it really focuses on the core skills, because this is a little bit different than our signature programs, the core skills of safety, of relationships, of having a growth mindset, so those readiness to learn skills, and self-regulation. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a beat and actually bring up the kids program, and we're going to just take a look at the kids program and pop through a bit of it, and then we'll do the same with the teens program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So whoa, hold on. I don't know if you saw that. Whoops, hold on. The challenges of technology and Zoom. Here we are. Okay, so I'm logging into the program as a student would now. And again, this is the kids program. And so this is 2 through 5. There's a great, grades 2 through 5, there's a great flexibility with how this program can be implemented. And part of what your educators and your counselors are kind of figuring out each at their own site is really what makes the most sense, what's going to be most efficacious and impactful for their site and for your students. And so that might look like a Zoom where they do some of the, they kind of lead a group through a lesson and nurture discussion. And then we'll have students kind of go deeper individually and log on the program on their own. With the younger kids, there's going to be a little bit more of facilitation. And with the older, with the adolescents, they really want some of their, their autonomy and their independence and their privacy with the program. So it's going to differ a little bit whether you have, an elementary level child or an adolescent. But as I said, we're logging in here now as though, let's say I'm a 4th grader.
Welcome back. Enter your password and press next to get going. Use the buttons above to find a topic, work on key skills, see your playlist, and check your points. From the menu button, you can watch a video to see how to explore a topic, learn more about your privacy, or quit the app.
So as I said, the structure of the program is that it's got 200 plus lessons, and they're in these 3 different categories. And the social and emotional skill focused lessons can be found here in keys.
5 special keys used together can help you do almost anything. Make good friends. Do well in school. Avoid things like bullying or being bullied. Stand up for yourself. Make good choices. Anyone who tries hard can master these 5 key skill sets. Choose a key to get started.
So you'll notice here that these are aligned to that castle wheel, right? That 5 core competency wheel. So we'll just click on controlling yourself here, just so you can see some of the lessons under this competency.
Controlling yourself, taking charge of your body, mind, and feelings.
So I'm going to scroll down, and each one of these represents a lesson. And you'll notice that we really, these are quite nuanced. And that's part of the aim of this program. We don't, one size fits all programs are great. And they have, they have their, a myriad of benefits. But part of, and interestingly enough, the creator of Second Step went on to create this program. And part of her reasoning behind that was that she really wanted to, again, get to kind of the nexus of what each unique student is grappling with or struggling with. So it's not kind of a blanket managing feelings lesson, but it's more, okay, what are you going through right now? And how can you work through that? And so you'll kind of see that reflected here. I'll just click on
expressing feelings.
I'll click on relating to others.
Relating to others. Steps for making friends and being part of a group.
So you can see the different lessons here. Again, thanking someone, joining a group, resolving conflict, getting help, responsibility. You can see the different lesson topics here. And so these are the SEL focus lessons. Then we've got the behavior focus lessons and the lessons around personal challenges. And both of those can be are represented here under topics.
Search for a topic by name or scroll through the list until you find one that interests you.
So I'm just scrolling down here so you can get a sense of the breadth of different topics that are available for your children here. And typically the pedagogy with this is going to be that your educators will assign certain lessons based on their learning objectives, based on their knowledge of your child, specifically based on kind of the key skills that they really want to focus on and they know their kids need the most right now. But in tandem with that, we always say, give kids the time, the autonomy, the encouragement to also choose to come to this list and choose a lesson that they want to work through. We did a randomized control trial, a large research study with a group of defiant, if I'm honest, defiant kids. And they actually didn't do any of the assigned lessons. They only went to this topic section and chose lessons that they really wanted to do. And we thought, okay, this is a wash. It turned out their academic scores rose. So the idea here is that kids are motivated. They are so engaged when it's about them. So again, as parents, encourage your kids. If you're not sure what's going on with them, this is a way that they can begin to maybe understand or investigate or explore some of the things or the feelings that they're dealing with. And then again, build that bridge, build that ability to understand those things and then communicate about them. And again, this is something that really, can very much be used in tandem with your child if you wanted to do a lesson together. Obviously having these skills and having this language, the counselors talked a lot about having this continued language from, pre-K through 12. We want that language to also be part of the language in the family, right? This social and emotional learning awareness. So again, to the degree that your young kids are willing and open to share this with you, dive right in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to a lesson and I'm going to go to asking for help. So let's look at that's
alternative.
That's a good one.
Argue.
And we'll just do a couple of the
Asking
different
for help.
modalities here.
Emerson has a problem he doesn't know how to solve. His friend has been doing dangerous things lately, and it's getting worse. Emerson has tried to make it better himself, but now he's run out of ideas.
So this is the structure of all of the lessons. They open up with kind of a little example or a little case study of what might this look like to ground the student in, again, like, give me an example of what is this for other kids? So here to the right, you'll see these questions, and these questions are great questions to reflect on, or they're questions that educators and parents can use if you're doing this with your child, to be able to nurture some discussion around this. I mean, you can even imagine doing this with a couple of your kids, and you're nurturing discussion around it. Again, there's no onus of that, but if you ever want to pick up one of these, if you feel like your young person is struggling with something, you kind of have baked in questions to ask here. You don't have to do the work to kind of come up with them. And then we have related topics. And so, if a student has landed here, they may be drawn to talking to parents. That may be something that they want to learn more about or learn exactly how to do that. And so we always put related topics here. And then here along the left are the different modalities of learning about the lesson. So info is the cognitive. That's really the understanding what this is. How to are skills and strategies. True story are true story videos of real kids talking about how they navigated the challenge or built the skill. Modeling are little video snippets showing a skill in action. Brain is a personal journal, where kids get to kind of reflect on the content and integrate it with their experience. Apply it are transfer exercises, and many of those are family oriented. And then got it's our little gamified knowledge checks. So we'll go to the true story. Kids love these true stories. They often go here first.
When I was in the 4th grade, there was this bully who I sat next to. And every day he'd just punch me in the shoulder for no reason until I got a really big bruise, and 2 weeks later, I couldn't take it anymore. So I thought maybe I should go to a teacher, or maybe even fight back to hit me again. I just thought fighting might not be a good resort. And so I went to a teacher and asked for help. And he changed my seating arrangement and also asked the kid to stop hitting me. And he actually stopped. We actually became pretty good friends. We started playing basketball often, and
so these are really, as you could probably discern, these are really authentic stories. Like, these are not actors. They're real kids talking about, how they moved through different challenges. And we hear a lot kids, particularly with some of the more sensitive topics, that they feel less alone and less isolated when they hear other kids share that, oh, okay, I'm not the only one, with a learning disability, or, whatever, fill in the blank. So now I'll just go to the how-to, the skills. I'm just going to do a few of these to give you a sense of this.
When you need help, here's what to do. Decide if you can get help from another kid or you need an adult. If it's about safety or serious right and wrong, you need to talk to an adult. Decide who you can trust. Parents are usually your first choice, but if they're the problem, go to another trusted adult and say, I need help with something. If you just need help from a teacher in class, here's how to ask. Raise your hand. When you're called on, say in a friendly way, can you please help me? If you have a problem you're ashamed or embarrassed about, like if you've been tricked or bribed or bullied into doing something you know isn't right for you, just say, Mom or Coach or whoever, I have a problem that's hard to talk about. Will you help me? Remember, you're never alone. If your problem involves safety, ask an adult for help and keep asking until you get it.
So I'm going to pop now to the apply it's. These are the transfer exercises, just so you can get a sense of those.
Apply it out in the world. Take what you've learned out into the world. Choose an area that interests you to get ideas and exercises.
Imagine what would happen if you were watching an action show and the hero asked for help instead of trying to solve the problem on his own. How would that make you feel about the hero? Do you think of heroes as strong people? Do you think of asking for help as a sign of strength or of weakness? Why do you think that?
And you can see here there's also a family component. So a lot of these exercises are around family and looking at these skills through the family lens, and a lot of them involve family activities. So, you know, you might want to ask your son or your daughter, like, tell me a little bit about, you know, which lesson you worked on, and what. Tell me about the questions in the different exercises in the apply it's for family, because also that's another way to engage and connect with your young person during this time. You know, giving them again, a safe place to begin to have sometimes difficult conversations about feelings is a really key kind of first step to, you know, building up the agency to be able to ask for help when they're scared to ask for help, right? Or not sure how. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to switch gears very quickly, and I'm going to go to the teens program. I'm not going through all of these just because we're constrained with time, but I want to show you a little bit what the teens program looks like. So let's see if I can just do this. I don't know, maybe sometimes, here, I'm going to stop my share and then go back and share it, because sometimes, here we go. I'm not sure, because I'm not getting feedback. I'm not sure if you could see that or not, but now I think you can. So here we go. Now I'm going to log in as though I'm a teen. So that was kind of the kids program, so you get a little sense of that. And now this is the teens program, the adolescent program.
Welcome back. Enter your password and press next to get going.
Use the buttons above to find a topic, work on key skills, see your playlists, and check your points. From the menu button, you can watch a video to see how to explore a topic, learn more about your privacy, or quit the app.
So again, you're going to see the same structure here. So keys are going to be the social and emotional skill focus lessons. And obviously the implementation is going to be a little bit different here. Like this might be something in elementary that you facilitate a whole class through. This might be something in middle and high school that's part of an advisory. And it's likely going to be done a little more asynchronously or independent as a teen, because that's what they're gonna gravitate to. You know, particularly with those personal topics, as doing some of that exploration on their own and having that safety to do so. And so I'll show you the keys.
Choose a key to get started. Knowing yourself, controlling yourself, being aware of others, connecting with others, making decisions. 5 special keys used together can open almost any door, get you into college, bring you friends, help protect you from harm. With effort and practice, anyone can master these 5 key skill sets.
So I'm also going to show you here the playlist. I made reference earlier to this kind of blended pedagogy where some lessons are going to be assigned and chosen for you. And then you're going to want to give kids the ability to also choose lessons on their own. So the assigned lessons will show up here in the playlists.
These are your personal playlists of assigned topics. Choose a topic that interests you or ask your teacher where to start.
So your counselors and your educators right now are coming up with these playlists. So this one is around, you can see here, these are just demo playlists, but this one is around agency, which is such a salient one for this time when kids are feeling such a lack of control. So these might be the lessons that, you know, your child might be working through. Again, together in a group. Some of them might be in a group with other students, and some of them might be on their own. But you can see, you know, this idea of the future, you know, a lot of kids, this time has made them question their futures, and trauma, of course, taking control, having a sense of optimism in the face of a lot of negativity, knowing who you are, what are my assets, what are my strengths. So you can, again, just see kind of a sense of what the different lessons look like. And so what I'm going to do, and then here's the topics
Strengths.
section again, same exact structure as the kids program, but let's go to, I'm going to go to the lesson just to show you what one lesson looks like in the teens program. I'm going to go to change unplanned change. That seems like a really good one for this time. So here I'm going to go to the topics
Search
list.
for a topic by name or scroll through the list.
And
Cause and effect.
change
Care
unplanned.
for yourself.
Here we go.
Monica's life seems to be constantly changing these days. She's got a new little sister, new friends, and her body is constantly changing. She's not sure how to deal with all this change.
So again, we're kind of grounding students in an example of what this might look like. And then I'll click on the how-tos. The how-tos are the skills and strategies, right? So those are kind of the, the meat of this, so to speak.
Change can be stressful. Here are some ways to help you cope, except that nothing remains the same. The very cells that today make up your body are not the cells that made it up last year. As the world changes around you, set goals and keep moving toward them. Make change work for you, not against you. When the going gets tough, say so. Expressing your feelings will help you and others accept them. Let go of the past. Live today and look to tomorrow. Learn to be a champion of change. Make your life change for the better.
So you may have also noticed that some of those key skills were underlined. That means there's a whole separate lesson on that. So again, we want to get kids into kind of the nitty gritty of skill practice. Like, how do they, just to say set goals is really not sufficient. We want to know, okay, how do I set goals? How do I do that? How do I let go? I hear that all the time, but how do I do that, right? And so we want them to kind of drive their process into specifically what they need. So I'll also click on the brain. We didn't do the brain in the last, in the kids program. This is the journal.
Choose any part of the brain to start. From there, enter your private feelings or thoughts about this topic, like a journal. When you save those, they become your memories. To get your points, you have to enter something into each section of the brain. You can come back anytime to add or change a thought.
So kids have to do all 5 parts of these. I'm just going to click on who can help.
Finish the thought. Select any of the words that make sense to you or write your own in the box.
So
save when you're done to create this memory. Choose next brain section to go to the next part of the brain. You need to create a memory in all 5 sections to get your points.
So for every single lesson across these 430, and if I didn't say this, I hope I said it, but if I didn't say it, they're about 15 minutes each, like 10 to 20 minutes, roughly, depending on the student, depending on pacing. But for every single lesson, we are prompting kids in both the kids program and the teens program to identify who can help me with this, right? And so again, we go back to that trauma-informed piece. Like some of the challenges that our kids are grappling with today are pretty intense, and we want them to be able to really build that real world support system. So depending on the skill, the challenge, the topic, who for this thing can I reach out to? Who can I talk to about this? So, maybe it's my, my mom and dad, I never talked to them, but I think they'd be open to my sharing my feelings, whatever it is. And then they get to save this.
You've created a memory
as part of their personal journal. And again, we've got these apply it exercises here that, again, are constantly connecting our students to the real world.
Apply it out in the world. Take what you've learned out into the world. Choose an area that interests you to get ideas and exercises.
So let's do friends and family.
Talk with your family or friends about any big changes that they had to make. How did they go about it? Was it easy or hard for them? See how they feel about that change now.
Right? So this would be an example of, an exercise that, again, involves the family and bringing the family in communication.
Watch a reality show. How do the producers use surprises or unplanned changes to make the show more interesting? What role does flexibility play in how contestants handle these surprises? Next time you find yourself dealing with change, make yourself the star of the show and imagine getting through it as a win.
Right, so we're looking at this through all these different lenses, right? Like suddenly, it's media, it's reality shows, but that's that's what we want to push kids to do. We want to kind of push and open the box and really all of these SEL skills, these critical SEL skills that we're building, we want to make them transferable, right? We want kids when they leave us to be able to problem solve across different situations and challenges. So that is just a really brief taste of both the kids and the teens programs. I also have, I'm going to stop my share, and I have a video here of one piece of the early learner program. And so that's just a couple minutes. And we're getting right up to the half an hour here. So I want to leave time for questions, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this video. So for those of you who have early learners, you can kind of get a sense of just one piece because this is a unique offering. It doesn't have quite the breadth of our kids and our teens program, but this is one piece of it, which is the app. And I'm gonna kind of bring it to the
There
top
are 5
here.
levels in this program and 5 dog badges to collect. Start with level 1 and use the buttons at the top to do the activities. When you're done with an activity, you'll get a check mark. When you get all check marks in a level, you earn a badge with a skateboarding dog and unlock the next level. Here's how all the buttons work. Home takes you back to where you started and where you can see all the lessons. Directions explains where each button takes you. You're watching them now. What if a kid had this challenge? What if you did? I remember. How Bouncy learned something important that you can learn now. Be sure to wait for things to wiggle at the end of each page. Touch them and see what happens. You star in a cartoon adventure. Kids show a video of other kids showing you how to do it. An art activity you can save in your own room. Be sure to frame it to get your check mark. A music activity where you get to sing and play the drums. Listen to the whole song to get your check mark. Got it. A cat and mouse game to test what you've learned. There's also a place for your stuff. In your stuff, you'll find your room, where your art hangs. Your score, where you can see what check marks you have and what you still need.
So again, that was just a taste of the early learner program. And I've got one more slide as we kind of wrap up here. So bear with me as I do a lot of moving around here. Okay. So, you know, again, I kind of touched on some of these, but, you know, it's interesting, and part of what I you know, has been my focus area for many, many years, is just this concept of when we think of social and emotional learning, and a lot of these social emotional learning skills are people skills. We often think like, wait a minute, like technology and people skills, like how do those two things mesh? And so, you know, one of the things, again, that I just go back to here is that our kids, unlike certainly me, you know, they're digital natives. So this is where they have a comfort level. And so by giving them, right, this kind of safe place to understand and build and practice some of these skills, we're giving them a safe forum, a safe kind of platform to begin to build a language and then ultimately the agency to reach out and to connect and to try these skills in the real world. And a lot of our young people, for an array of reasons, especially our teens, do have all kinds of fear and shame and embarrassment around some of the things that they may be feeling or experiencing or struggling with. And so it's this first level, this first layer where they can begin to, as I said, kind of understand these things and build the resiliency skills around those things that are really uniquely meaningful and salient to them. And then lastly, the last note here that's an important one is data. So our program is FERPA and HIPAA compliant, and our data is, I am not I am not the tech expert on our team, but it is triple encrypted. We cannot access your student data. And again, it is, we hold our standards to almost like a mental health medical grade standards.
Enter your student ID to sign in or to sign up for an account. Then press next.
That's actually the program talking to me. So kids can't pretend to be on the program and not actually be on the program. It kind of pops them off. So you actually have data to see how long students were on the program. But anyway, back to data. We have the highest level of kind of data security and data privacy. And I know that's and should be very important to parents and to schools. And so I'll close with that. And I'm really looking forward to your questions. And I really, again, want to give the district a lot of credit for just their holistic, really rich efforts to support kids and support them, knowing that some of these things are tough. Some of the things our kids are going through are tough. There's a lot of educators out there who would rather not look at some of those things and kind of pretend they're not there. And so I give Rio Rancho just incredible credit for really taking a whole, ripple effects as one piece of this whole strategy to really ensure that kids are getting the supports that they need.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We really appreciate you going through that presentation. And thank you, Tana and Lupe and Alicia and Jamie also for going through.
There are lots of different ways to explain
the information you shared as well. I think it's really great the work everyone is doing to ensure that our students have the supports that they need, even while they're working virtually. And so we don't have any questions this evening, but I did just want to ask one question of the team while I have you, because it's a question that we've gotten a few times, is talk a little bit more about how this works virtually. How do we support our kids virtually? And you went through all the programs and stuff, but what does that really look like where they're working off-site?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, exactly what that's going to look like is going to be something that each one of your teams at each school site and across the different grade levels are going to figure out. But typically we see a blend of synchronous, right? These are big words right now. And we hear synchronous and asynchronous. So synchronous would mean that an educator or a counselor actually has a group, right, on Zoom. It could be a class, right, for second, third, and the elementary grade. And they would be leading and they would have the program up, right, on their computer. And so the kids would be actually watching the lesson and they would be participating as a group and nurturing that. You can nurture discussion, you can nurture group discussion, you can even nurture some of the, or engage in some of the exercises that way. But that's really important, right? To build that connection and trust, right, among their peers, and reconnecting is with both educators as well as their peers is so important. So it's probably going to be some of that, and then some of the independent study, right? So some of, and the independent work, just because of the developmental levels of kids, you're going to see more of the synchronous, more of that Zoom group work at the younger levels, and maybe more of the independent work at the older levels, because that's what kids gravitate towards. But it's usually going to be a balance of the two. So again, we're seeing kind of best practices emerge in this distance learning environment where, even the middle and high schools are coming together for an advisory around a lesson that's really key that they want to focus on and they want to do some discussion on. You could have kids, do a lesson themselves individually and then come back to the group, right, and share out and go through it together and talk about it. So I guess my answer is not one answer, right, because there's a lot of flexibility with this. But I would say that as parents, it's going to be that combination. It's going to be the combination of we're doing this as a group all together, and then maybe some of the independent work where, with the younger kiddos, as a parent, you might facilitate a little bit of the work, the independent work. But again, for your teens, they're not going to want you to facilitate. They're going to want to do it all themselves. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Did anyone want to add anything?
I'll add something.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that the access is there for all the students. I know for my own child, I can already see it on her Chromebook through Clever. And so for teachers that are ready to dive into it or let the kids explore, it's already going to be there. I mean, I know I have to play with it as an administrator for the site, but I think that's really exciting. And then we can also have the counselors there to do lessons as needed. But it really will take away from it being kind of just the counselors doing the SEL curriculum. So I think that's exciting. And also that parents can get on and look at it with their child. That's really great. So I learned a lot from your presentation, and there's a lot of really exciting things about it. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I would just add that because we're in the beginning stages, that was one of our conversations that we had with the 42 counselors yesterday, because we had professional development for the first time. And really, what will it look like on each campus? And it might look a little bit different, but everyone will be using it. And so there's going to be a lot of different modalities as to how it's being used. So we're in those beginning stages, but absolutely, we're going to be using all the different ways that we can to engage students.
Great. And then we had this question pop up. What is the process to access services? So if a student needs service, what is that process?
Well, so I can let any of the counselors talk, but it depends on what type of service they're asking for. But if it's just general counseling service, I'm going to let you all talk to that. But then if it goes even a deeper dive where there's some more serious things going on, that's also a type of referral that the counselors can address. But I'll let you all, one of you that would like to talk about that.
So I can. So on each of our websites for each of our individual schools, we have a way for students to access their counselor, and it's in our general school counselor website. And that was a kind of a procedure that we established kind of at the beginning of our shutdown last spring. And I can only speak to myself on this, but at my site, in addition, we have Google Classrooms for school counselors, and students reach out to me through signing up for my Google Classroom, and they have that I need to talk to you feature as well. And so it's replicated in multiple places, and different ways that kids are really good at figuring out. Now, additionally, our district has encouraged us to begin utilizing Remind. And so the end of this week, I will be sending out emails to my parents to ask if they would like to become part of my Remind community. So I can send out resources and things of that nature to them. But the kids there's also a piece for kids to do that as well. And so during this week, kids have been signing up for my Remind account and figuring out how to problem solve some of the issues of beginning a school year remotely. And it's in real time. And that's why I got the cool headset. Because they are craving ways to problem solve on their own. They are craving ways of finding out information, which is beautiful through the ripple effects. And they're craving ways of connection. And so there are lots of ways that kids can ask for my help on their own, but you can also as a parent email any of your school counselors, and we will do our best to help problem solve whatever issue you might be having or experiencing a speed bump with. So we have emails and phones, and those are all on our school counseling websites.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, I just want to thank everyone again for joining us this evening. Thank you to our panel for your wonderful presentation. And I want to remind all the parents that our next Parent University is next week on the 20th at 5:30, also live feed via YouTube. And it will be on helping your child cope with anxiety during COVID. And we have partnered with the Department of Health, Office of School and Adolescents Health, as well as UNM Health Sciences. And so we'll be presenting that next week. So we hope that you'll join us next week. Thank you again to our participants. Thank you again to our parents. And I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Thank you.